You too. It's
Nice
been
to
a
see
while,
you,
eh?
Brian. How you doing?
Hi there, Nikki. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. See the guests all starting to pile in now, so we're just going to give it a couple of minutes and then we will kick off as close to 12 as we can. I hope everyone got their Uber Eats vouchers. We know you're taking up your lunchtime.
If you did cameras on, we want to see what you guys are munching on.
Yeah.
It's Joe's Burgers in Hyde Park.
Is that yours, Coombs?
Yeah. Can't go wrong with the Joe's Burgers from Rosebank.
There we go.
Sweet and sour pork. Okay. Nice.
There we go.
James, sweet and sour pork. Lovely.
Nice, James. Right, welcome. Good afternoon to those who've just arrived. We'll be kicking off in a couple of minutes.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Ngani.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. Engelbrecht.
Hey, how's things going, Koos?
How are you, Andre?
Yeah, lekker. Mr. Timpley, long time since I've seen you, hey? How's things going?
It has been. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very well. Sure, it's probably been almost 10 years since I've last seen you.
Can't be that long.
It couldn't have been that long.
That long.
It's really that long. 2012, 2013. It's really been that long.
Do you mean that I used to have hair the last time we spoke?
Yeah, Andre had hair. Andre had hair.
Andre had lots of hair then.
No. I think I had lots of hair then too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Andre, when we catching up, buddy?
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
We have to. Let's make a plan soon. You're still in Edenvale. You're still that side.
Yeah, still in Greenstone.
I'll organize with you. I mean, my kids are also that side, so I'll organize with you. We'll
definitely.
Okay, we're just going to give it another minute or so. I think we're almost up to full capacity, and then we will kick off. In the meantime, feel free to climb into whatever lunch you've ordered yourselves. Mel, how are we doing numbers-wise? Are we about right?
We're about right.
Okay.
I think there's about 6 customers that we're waiting for. So
Good. We'll give it another 30 seconds and then we'll kick off. Just because I know load shedding is happening somewhere, so someone's panicking about the fact that they suddenly can't connect for some reason. Right, I think we are good. Let's kick off, guys. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Technology Lunch and Learn in partnership today with the Sendmarc team. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Brian Timpley, the Chief Executive at Turrito. I'm joined by some of our team today, together with Stephen van der Merwe from Sendmarc, and he's going to be taking us through a brief presentation. It is going to be brief, short and sweet. It's going to get right down to the a nice high-level overview of the product set, and nice.
Brian's paused.
yeah, I was worried it was just me.
Is it only me? Or
it's
Brian
the load
paused?
shedding, I think.
It's load shedding, definitely. It's
yeah.
Shouldn't be our Wi-Fi just come back up. Oh, there we go.
Whoa.
Brian? Brian,
You guys
we
lose
missed.
me.
Yeah, we lost you for
Yes.
a couple of seconds. You're gonna have to
Maybe
Maybe just pick off
I
again.
suddenly realized that everyone was standing still for a longer time than expected. Whereabouts did you lose me, Kums?
We'll at Brian Temple.
Oh,
At-
wow.
From
Okay.
the intro.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened there, but let me start again. So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Technology Lunch and Learn in partnership today with Sendmarc. Again, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Brian Timperley, Chief Executive at Turrito. We're joined by some of the Turrito team, both technical and sales, as well as Stephen van der Merwe from Sendmarc, who will be taking us through the brief presentation. Today, we are going to be focusing on prevention of email fraud and phishing attacks with DMARC technology. So we all know that this particular cybercrime is on the rampant rise. There are countless examples of impacts of this and what it's done on a daily basis to businesses in South Africa. And amazingly enough, South Africa currently ranks as number 5 in the world to this type of crime. So it is very prevalent and obviously a big topic for us to take everyone through. We need to ensure a level of trust and safety returns to email communication. That's really what this session is about. And email remains still the most dominant tool in businesses. So we're hoping to provide you all with some key insights on the risks and how they can be overcome as well. So please make any notes that you want during the session for questions that we'll have at the end. You're also welcome to pop questions into the chat, and our facilitators will bring them up on your behalf if you prefer that. We're going to jump into a Q&A right at the end of the session, so you're welcome to ask our team anything that's on your mind, specific either to your business or to the products that they were covering. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Stephen for the preso. So over to you, Stephen.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleased to have you on the call this afternoon. Yeah, get stuck into your lunch, and it's going to keep it light, going to keep it a little fairly interesting today as well, just as we go through a bit of information, something that we're very passionate about here with our partnership with Turrito, just, helping customers and helping our businesses secure your brands. Basically, cybercrime prevention is what we're talking about today. And I think just to dive straight into it, we've got this kind of cheesy saying or cliche saying at Sendmarc that we strongly believe in. And we're here in business to try and make the internet safer for everyone, right? And we do this by doing a couple of things very specifically around brand and reputation protection, making sure simplistically that just the right email lands into the right mailboxes, verified email, etc. And we were thinking about this the other day in terms of, is this something that we can actually do as a possible goal? Can we measure this? And it turns out that, yes, we can. We can absolutely measure this. We can measure this in industries. We can measure this in different verticals. We can measure this in different size businesses, making the internet safer for everybody because of the way that we work with the technology that we're using. And essentially, what we're going to be driving through today is 3 reasons to care, right? What is this problem? I'm going to try and make it as real as I can for you guys on the call without scaring you too much, because definitely not ambulance chasing. And one of my good friends always says to me, it's like you guys are always using care tactics rather than scare tactics. And that's really what we're here to try and do today. And it's worth fixing, right? And you'll see with the guys at Turrito, it's actually not that expensive. 3 easy actions for us to take on, or for you guys to take on your side. I feel it's important for every domain owner to know your domain score, and we'll get into what that means. Second action is adding DMARC to your domain, what that looks like, what the implications are, and how we can help you there. And what we're offering you today is taking this information and giving you, 14 days worth of a trial to see if this is relevant to your business and that it is worth fixing. Okay. So these are kind of what we're going to be going through today. I am running off of one screen, so if there are any hands raised or questions that we can address right now, let's do that. But let's leave the Q&A questions for the end. Okay. So I want to challenge you guys to do something for yourselves now. Maybe wipe your hands off if you're using your hands to eat. I know I do sometimes. Grab your phone and scan that QR code and have a look at what a spoof or an impersonation demonstration would most likely look like. And typically, these would be types of emails that come from you to your customers. But right now, what this is going to do is going to send you an email from yourself, putting that into perspective as to how possible and how severe these types of things can be. And that leads us to the problem that we're seeing, right? And that's the problem that we're here to discuss today. Take a look at email. It is the number one communication tool. It's the critical communication app. This invite was sent out via mail, links, attachments, pieces of information, etc. And ever since email's existence, it's required third-party augmentation, right? Things that make it better, that make it more secure, that make it safer. Just mute yourself there, guys, if you are chatting. Just mute yourself there. Thank you. Fantastic.
Okay.
And that's where we're finding ourselves at this point in time. Where is email going? How are we going to be continuing to use this platform in our day-to-day business? Well, it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's being used more and more today by automated systems, ERP systems, emailing systems, financial systems, etc. But there is still a problem that persists with it. Things like impersonation and interception, right? And by large, lots of us on this call know exactly what those terms mean, but we don't always know how these attacks are proliferated. On the opposite side of the screen, visibility and delivery. Big problem is, how do we make sure that we can make positive change to a security policy if we don't have visibility or audit trails on those particular kind of aspects? How important is delivery of mail to you and to your customers? How many times are you finding that there are potentially issues where you're sending emails, but they're just not landing up in the right locations, right? All of these problems pertain to this wonderful thing that is email. And this is where we're coming in to assist with our customers, with you guys and potentially your customers as well, to help try and solve and address some of these situations. With its cause and effect, with everything in life as we go through, if those problems exist, if those problems are there, these certain damages can be proliferated as well. So I'm not going to talk to each of these. I don't want to be reading off of anything. You guys can read it for yourself. And I think throughout our professional experience, professional career, we've come across these types of damages before. It's up to us as security professionals to make sure that these don't impact our businesses that we work for, don't impact our reputation. How do we do that if there's just so many things that pertain to the sources or the tools that we're using? This is where we're coming in and trying to help prevent these types of damages from existing in your business. Not really much to say about this over here, but this is the answer, guys. We are here to stop email impersonation. We're here to stop cyber criminals utilizing your brand and your reputation, your domains, your emails, talking to your customers, hurting the brand, hurting the reputation. We're here to stop email impersonation. But before we get into the thick of it, I'd like to start with a couple of examples to make this real, to make this relevant, to make this known exactly what we're talking about. And this is a relatively older one, and I'll talk about why this is still important. 2015, around Austria, was a gentleman by the name of Walter Stephan. He is the founder and was the founder and CEO of an amazing company called FACC, where they specialize in, particular engineering parts for Airbus, Bombardier, Boeing, and they're quite a large organization, quite a prolific organization. And he was on holiday with his family in Austria and came back to a very, very big storm of hurt and what's the other word I'm looking for? Trouble with regards to the organization. And what had happened was they were impersonated. Walter Stephan was impersonated specifically, and they made one single transaction of around 50,000 euros, 50 million euros rather, in one single transaction, because the financial team absolutely believed it was Walter Stephan that they were talking to. In fact, it was a cyber criminal. So the board of directors came in and they fired the entire executive team, as well as probably half of the financial team that was there. To this date, that impersonation still hurts them, 5, 6, 7 years later. And unfortunately, to this date, they still have not learned from their mistakes. that facc.com domain is very much still vulnerable. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that was happening in South Africa at the time. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with ENS Africa, but this has happened in January 2023, so the beginning of this year. ENS Africa, the law firm, they were implicated in a cyber attack, not to the fact of a breach or a data breach or a ransomware attack of that essence. What had happened was they were talking and working with one of their clients directly. She had won a property in a divorce agreement, and she was ordered to pay, the fees through to the legal team. And what had happened was this email back and forth from ENS Africa to their customer. Mail were first intercepted. So the cyber criminals were learning how these guys were talking to this particular customer of theirs. And then they started to initiate emails back and forth with this customer as ENS Africa, impersonating them, essentially. And this customer then thought, well, I'm just going to continue talking to these guys because it is absolutely them. No reason to, think otherwise. And what had happened was they gave her an invoice to pay for this particular property. And interestingly enough, she paid the invoice of 5.5 million rand. After a couple of weeks, the ENS team reached out and said, hey, are you going to be paying this money? And she said, I've absolutely paid it. Here's a proof of payment. I said, no, that's not our invoice. That's not our banking details. You need to pay us 5.5 million. Anyway, took it to court. And what had happened was, through the process of investigation, the judge actually ordered that as the domain owner for the domain, the business, ENS Africa, were obliged to do everything beyond reasonable doubt to protect their communications coming from them to their customers. And this individual was not at fault. And ENS Africa were ordered to pay back 5.5 million rand to their customer. The sad part about this whole process is they could have avoided all of this by spending around 2,000 rand a month in protection against this particular attack. Quite scary. There's been lots of these examples. SA Winemaker, 10 million rand. South African Swiss Trust, $700,000. One or two of the banks have been, attacked for around $2.3 billion. Why are we showing you all of this? It's to make it relevant to you guys, to make it relevant to your businesses. Yeah, but that can never happen to us. We're a small organization, or we don't play in these markets, we don't play in these industries. The sad reality is that 70% of the time, you are not the intended target of these types of attacks. You are just there as a stepping stone in order to get to these bigger organizations. What we're also under the assumption is that because we're not these big organizations, we don't have the money to pay for the security that we need, which is absolutely not true. Daily Maverick, some more information. Third highest number of cyber crimes in the world proliferated in South Africa. 2.2 billion rand a year. The fifth, as Brian said, fifth highest cyber criminally active countries in the world. It's relevant, guys. This is happening under our noses. It's happening in our country. It's happening in our regions. It's happening in our environments and our businesses. I think it's important to understand how this happens. Because yes, we understand how mail works. But do we understand that cloud services such as these, when we subscribe to them, actually impersonate mail on our behalf to our employees, our customers, and our suppliers? This is how the distribution works, with regards to email. You subscribe to these, it looks like it's coming from Stephen at Sendmarc, but it's actually coming from Stephen's Microsoft environment. So Microsoft is impersonating me. If that's possible on the legitimate side, what's then possible on the illegitimate side? The attackers are doing exactly the same thing using free services, DigitalOcean, SendGrid, the likes of those guys, spinning up these types of services and sending mail to your employees, your customers, and your suppliers as you, pretending to be you, using your domain. Challenge is the people in the middle over here are the victims. They don't know any different. They don't know if it's legitimately coming from Stephen on the left-hand side or if it's illegitimately coming from the attacker on the right-hand side. It's up to us as domain owners and custodians of our business to protect absolutely every communication coming from our business to our employees, our customers, and our suppliers. That ENS Africa story that I mentioned, it has set precedent in South Africa. Absolutely. What we're talking about here needs to be looked at, because if it does go to the court, the judges are going to ask the very first question: what have you done to prevent these types of communications from being impacted? Existing protection is something that comes up a lot. Yeah, but I've got these amazing tools and these amazing security solutions that we're talking to, that we're using. Absolutely, those stay. Those are absolutely necessary. They need to be there. They're protecting you at the perimeter, right? And that's where partners like Turrito have come in and gone, guys, we need to protect you at the perimeter, which we've done. We've helped you guys do that. The reason we're having a discussion today is because Turrito has seen that there's potentially a vulnerability in your suppliers and your customers and the rest of the world with the brands that are on the call today. So we're being proactive as a collective, as your security custodians coming to you going, we'd like to see if this is a problem in your world. And how, as a security collective, can we extend this net of protection to your suppliers, your customers, and the rest of the world? Can I just ask everybody to mute, please? Thank you. And that's why Turrito has partnered with us, because they've seen the work that we're doing, and they believe what we believed, as I said in the beginning, we're trying to make the world of the internet a safer place for everybody. Raising this to your attention, bringing this to your attention, we're helping customers and IT professionals understand that it's not just inbound and internal email that we're looking after. We need to look after our outgoing mail as well. Mail that's using a trusted relationship between you and your customer. Cybercriminals abuse that relationship. Turrito gets it, we get it. We want you guys to now get it too. In terms of how do we protect our communications going to our customers and our suppliers. In fact, anybody that trusts your brand in the world. I use an example yesterday with one of my customers, Standard Bank, familiar bank in the country, absolutely, outside of South Africa as well. I keep getting emails from them from their domains that look absolutely legitimate, asking me to click on links to verify, I don't know, point systems that they've got. I've never once banked with Standard Bank, nor have I ever inquired about banking with Standard Bank. I know the brand. These types of attacks are hurting that brand. Challenge is, how do we know who's using our domain out there? How do we know where our vulnerability lies? Is this something that's a vulnerability in your business? Let's test that. Let's have a look. Sendmarc has created its own flavor of a domain score, if you will, off of a global standard. If you look at any other business that's similar to ours, we work off of this domain vulnerability, right? It's just, this is our flavor on it. So do yourself a favor, test your domain, utilize the QR code, go to Sendmarc, go to the domain score. You'll get an initial analysis of what your domain vulnerability is. Now, bearing in mind that this is not looking at any security solution that you've utilized on the inbound. Keep your Mimecasts, keep your Googles, keep your Microsofts, keep all of that stuff there. That's absolutely necessary. Money that you've invested stays. Good job. Where we would like to have a conversation with you, if that's something that you'd like to entertain, is if you plug your domain in and you start to see your scoring coming back less than a 3 or a 3 out of 5 or less. There's work that we can be doing there for you. This is where we've come in with Turrito, and they've come in and they've said to us, Sendmarc, we need your guys' help. We want to further protect our customers. We believe some of them might be vulnerable. We want to have a conversation with them. Okay. 5 out of 5, totally protected. Domain can't be impersonated. And emails cannot be intercepted. 4 out of 5, a couple more things that we need to do there. Usually this implicates when a quarantine or a junk folder gets involved over here. 3 or less, this is where we need to be having a conversation. First, to help understand what this vulnerability means. Secondly, to take you through the journey. Right? It's not just a simple switch something on and fix it. We need to take you through a journey to help you understand this and get protected. Finally, we come to what it is that we're actually using to do this. Right? Now, firstly, This is something that's relatively new to the market. I would say 2012, 2013. So not relatively that new, but it's relatively newer in being understood and being utilized. And the solution we're talking about, folks, is DMARC, right? Very long, what's an acronym for a very long grouping of words. So we'll just stick with DMARC. If you Google it, you'll be able to understand it. I want to draw a reference to a couple of things. Firstly, Sendmarc didn't create this brilliant protocol. It was created by a lot of smart individuals from these well-known brands and these well-known businesses on a global scale. Secondly, it is a global security standard for email, which means it's going to become mandatory at some point. If we have a look where it is already mandatory, Australian government, UK government, United States government, Netherlands government, you're working with those individuals or those entities, you have to have this configured. It's a global security standard for email. Standard, much like other things like SPF and DKIM are standards for email. What is it? It's an email authentication protocol that leverages these two specific policies being SPF and DKIM. Having these two policies configured is not the be-all and end-all. Mail can still be impersonated and intercepted. DMARC is the enforcer behind these two policies that help make that impersonation and interception preventable. Okay. What we're doing at Sendmarc is we're utilizing this global security standard with the help of the guys at Turrito to include that in security conversations with all of their customers to help them understand this is a component of security, makes criminals unsuccessful in using email to trick your customers, to hurt your brand. This is where we come in. We've partnered with Turrito, utilizing our software platform, proudly South African, I might add, to use this piece of information from DMARC to understand where your domains are being implicated, where your domains are being used to send fraudulent emails, where you're sending from blacklisted IPs. The software platform helps understand and interpret the DMARC data. You can do this yourself. I have to add that. But chat with Brian, chat with the Turrito team. It's quite complex. And this is where our partnership becomes very valuable to you as a customer, because not only are we providing you a software platform, we're providing you the professional services that go behind this. We as Sendmarc and Turrito become the custodians of DMARC in your world. You do not have to know this thoroughly. We come in and we implement the solution on behalf of your business. We manage it, we monitor it, and we maintain this level of standard so that you, as the IT professional and security professional, can focus on the other 5 things that you need to focus on for your business. By allowing Sendmarc and Turrito to manage this process, we offer you a unique differentiator in the market. That unique differentiation is we back that with a Sendmarc SLA or guarantee. Meaning, if you allow Turrito and Sendmarc to work on this component of business security for you, we guarantee you that within 90 days, we will have successfully implemented the solution in this protocol for you. If not, I'm happy to refund you absolutely everything that you've paid thus far. That guarantee only comes through with that collective working between Turrito and Sendmarc. Training and certification, absolutely free. We want you guys to understand this, right? DMARC doesn't need to be this complex thing. Is it necessary in a business? Absolutely. Does it work? We've got 1,200 customers that will back us up on our claims globally on that instance. Okay, so quick recap over here, folks. Email impersonation on the outbound. Who's using your domain without your knowledge? Firstly, that makes me feel a little bit cringy as well, because I don't have control over that. I don't have control of who's sending my customers emails that look like it's come from me. Yeah, but my customers know that it's not an email from me because that's not how I talk. Not the problem. The problem is it takes one customer, one bad experience, one reputational damage to have an issue that's 5.5 million rands worth. So how do we understand this? Well, there's this global security standard called DMARC. I'm familiar with it. I'm not familiar with it. What is it? An email authentication protocol. Much like you've got stuff that authenticates mail coming into your business, DMARC is going to authenticate the validity of your mail leaving your business, so that your clients and your customers and your suppliers are protected from fraudulent stuff. How do we get access to this? Can we do this ourselves? Yes, but you're not going to. 5 minutes ago, you didn't even know what DMARC was. Let's help you with that. Let's take you on that journey. Let's get you access to the software platform. Let's give you access to our professional services team to get this done. What does this look like once you're done? What's the implication? Well, we've worked with a couple of insurers here locally and internationally as well. Once we get you to the latest and greatest security policy with DMARC, which is reject, and what that means is if a fraudster tries to use your domain in impersonations, the email systems globally are going to reject that as fake, protecting your customers and your participants that receive email from you. We issue you with a certificate of compliance. Some financial institutions require this. I was on a call yesterday with a particular property company, quite a large property organization, and their insurer refuses to insure them until they've got SPF, DKIM, and DMARC sorted. We started working with them yesterday afternoon. The project will be completed by next week. We will be able to issue them the certificate of compliance. Super, super important. Going to leave that up there. The take action point for today, guys. Very simple to start this process. Chat to your Turrito correspondent. Let's have a conversation around how we're going to do this. All we're simply asking you to do is to add a DMARC record to your DNS. If that's not known to you what that is, we can have a conversation around that. We would like to see firstly if this is a problem for your business, rather than assuming that it is. So we're asking the call to action today while you're finishing up your lunch and thinking of all the amazing questions you would like to ask us. Start thinking about who manages your DNS. Start thinking about having a chat with your Turrito correspondent to get that DMARC record added so that we can start looking at this data for you. So I'm just going to summarize here. The problem is real. It's valid in South Africa, not just globally. It's a 2.2 billion rand problem that we're seeing in South Africa every single year. Is it real for you? I hope you've taken the chance to send yourself an email from yourself to yourself, essentially impersonating yourself. I hope you've had a chance to have a look at your score. If you'd like some more information, again, the guys from Turrito are here, happy to do that. And I hope that you can see that it's worth fixing. It's worth protecting your domain, to protect your clients, to protect your interests as a business. How do we get going? What do we do from here? Understand your score, know your score. I said in the beginning, I believe it's important. It's almost mandatory for you guys to know where your vulnerability might lie. You want to add a DMARC record to your domain, to your DNS, we can help you with that. And we'd like to offer everyone on the call a 2-week free trial. No contracts, no obligations, absolutely nothing. We come back and we relay that information back to you in a 30-minute analysis. That's all we're asking. It takes 5 minutes to set up, let it run for 14 days. We come back to you with relevant information, business information. We go through that. And I think this is where we'll close it off. Just a bit of a humble brag on our side, some of the brands that trust us globally, North America, South America, South Africa. And yeah, we'd love the opportunity to work with you, with the Turrito guys. We have had great success with the Turrito team prior and before. We'd love to expose this to you and see if this is relevant in your world, because I certainly think it is. I'm happy to stop sharing my screen there. I've got a couple of minutes left. Brian, I don't know, over to you. Should we start running through the Q&A?
Excellent. That's great. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it. And yeah, I think we can hop over to the floor for some Q&A. If there's any questions, you can either just raise your digital hand and we'll ask you and you can fire away. If you'd prefer to just drop your question in the meeting chat, you're welcome to do so as well, and our facilitators will bring it up on your behalf. I think just before, while everyone's thinking of any potential questions that they have, the one aspect of this, certainly for me in my discussions with a lot of our customers and a lot of the business owners, is around that concept of businesses now being the custodian of their domain and the responsibility lying on that side. And I think that that's really one of the most pivotal aspects in adoption of technologies like this. Like, the reality is, when the risk is there for businesses, that not using technology is something that can cause the kind of damage that Stephen was referring to. I think it becomes just a lot more real. And nowadays, it isn't just about putting technology in, saying this is something I'm going to use to defend myself. It's also about going, this is something that I need so that my brand and my business isn't used to exploit and damage customers and suppliers and partners that engage with us as well. And I think that was really a fundamental pivot in certainly our understanding of the importance of technology like this and our partnership with Sendmarc as well. So have we got any questions firing up yet? Stephen might have done such a good job that no one has any.
Either that or as a typical South African
totally
saying,
confused.
going Markie full with his too, like, just eating another baton. Yeah, fire away, guys. Just to be clear,
we've got our first question here. So what happens if you have the system but clients still receive emails that impersonate our organization?
So
From
typically,
Dingani.
yeah, Dingani, great question there. Typically, if we're utilizing this protocol, right? So the system is there to help understand the data from the protocol. If you are successfully utilizing DMARC and you've set it to the right setting of rejection, if someone tries to impersonate that domain, your clients would not receive emails because they're not part of an authorized set of systems and services that you've deemed possible. So they won't be getting those impersonations, right? Does that answer your question? I don't want to go too technical, but we can if we need to.
Yeah, effectively, it is the verification that you're either on the system, and the moment that you're on and are demarked, effectively anything that is mimicking your domain is no longer allowed to send. So the receipt just doesn't happen. That's obviously the intention of expanding that network of DMARC enabled businesses.
Absolutely.
Dingani, just let us know in the chat there if you're happy with that or if you want to expand on it. We've got one from Christoph. Could you point out the fundamental difference between Mimecast and Sendmarc?
Absolutely. So if we have a look at Mimecast as an organization, love the technology, love what they're doing there. I personally have worked there for about 5 years. Their core focus is largely secure email gateway. So think of their three kind of primary directives as inbound email security. They got their perimeter defense. They're filtering out the mail before it hits your Microsoft or your Google tenant, before it comes down to you, right? Second thing, there's business continuity. If your exchange, whatever falls over, they've got operations to extend that so that they can continue working. Lastly is archiving data and transit data at rest, right? So they focus largely on your mail infrastructure on the inbound. Sendmarc, hyper-focused on DMARC. It's the only thing that we do. We focus on the outbound, right? This is our primary directive. We also believe that two of them they do coexist. We've got a lot of Mimecast, very, very happy Mimecast customers that are utilizing our services. We don't filter inbound mail. That's where Mimecast comes in, Christoph. We then utilize the DMARC at the DNS layer to filter, or not filter, but to authorize the outgoing mail. Does that answer your question?
Just let us know in the chat there, Christoph, if you're happy or if you want to expand on that. Mel, did we have any other questions coming through prior to the session that are still relevant?
Yes, we did. I do think that Stephen answered most of them, but I'll ask them in case there's anything to expand on.
Sure.
Are there any conflicts with my existing security stack?
No.
Cool.
Majority of your security stack would be, inside the organization. This DMARC component lives at the DNS layer. So the only potential conflict would be is if you're already using some form of DMARC solution and you're wanting to move over to a Sendmarc contingent of that. But other than that, there wouldn't be a conflict from a security stack.
Awesome. And then how does Sendmarc work with my current security email gateway?
Fantastic. Great question. We can go super technical, or as one of my colleagues internally always used to say, we can give you the crown version, right? So I'm happy with the crown version because I'm not technical at all, but I've got my technical backup if needed.
Happy to do that.
Your current security, if we have a look at it holistically, right? When mail traverses and it comes into your organization, it hits your very first layer, whether that's your secure email gateway. Gets then sent to your Microsoft, your whatever the case is, hits your network security, firewalls, and what have you. User interacts with it, and then it goes out pretty much the same way. Once it leaves your organization, that email hits your DNS. It queries the DNS to look for where it needs to go, right? And Andre, you can keep me honest here. That's where DMARC and that's where Sendmarc effectively plays, right? So your existing security stack, your firewalls, your networks, or your email, whatever the case may be, exists very much in-house. Once that mail leaves and queries the DNS, that's where we become relevant. We become relevant there because that DMARC protocol lives there, and it is that enforcer behind making sure it gets to the right location uninterrupted. It's telling the location of where it's going. It is coming from a legitimate source, being your business. And thirdly, if it is a fake email, it's not going to have that protocol in place. Therefore, the query is that it's going to go be rejected. So hopefully that answers the question there. Andre, anything to add on that side?
I think you've covered most of it, right? The important part there is DMARC is something that's used by a receiver, right? So when the receiver gets your email, and I'll use Brian as an example here, right? Brian sends an email to me. My servers or my gateways are going to check what is Brian actually sending to me. Is it Brian that I'm talking to based on SPF, DKIM that's in place? And ultimately, if it's not something that Brian has sent, what does his organization want me to do with that email? And that's where the DMARC policy comes into play there. I think something important that I haven't seen anyone ask is this disruptive in any way when you're implementing this? And the answer there is no, it's not, because we're not sitting in line with Mailflow in any way. We don't interrupt anything from a Mimecast perspective or Microsoft 365, Defender for Office, whatever you're using, Google G Suite or Workspace, whatever it is. We basically operate at the DNS level, and it's records that we add in there. There's some additional features which we didn't go into a lot of detail on today that we also bring to the table with regards to SPF management and DKIM key management that we can also run through our platform, which again is something that you could look forward to, the optimization of those to be more conformant to RFC standards around DKIM and SPF and how those are published to the internet. So there's definitely some other things that we add on over and above the DMARC standard, but that is our core focus, right? And that's what we've helped a lot of other Turrito customers with as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Andre.
Well, cognizant of time, there is one last question that the customers have asked from the RSVP, which is, and you did cover it, saying it was complex to implement yourself, but what are the risks of implementing it myself?
Great question. So we can do technical, we can do business. I'll do business based off of that. The information required to progress through the security levels of DMARC generally come through in codified form. They call the XML reports, right? Every email that leaves your business generates probably about 5 pages of reports. So you can work that out per mail. I mean, if you're sending out 2,000 to 3,000 emails a month, it's quite a lot of data to sift through. That data then has to go to an individual in your business. I feel sorry for that individual because that poor person is going to spend 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day sifting through information, right? It's a very rare skill to be able to understand this information. Okay, so business implication, you've now hired somebody that costs you an absolute fortune to read and sift through information that possibly would be delayed in implementing from a security point of view. Second thing here is that person is a person. Human error becomes a problem there. They can make a mistake. And therein lies the biggest problem. If you implement DMARC too quickly without understanding the information of who's sending on your behalf, fixing a couple of things that need to be fixing, and you set it to reject, you could have a lot of false positives. You could be triggering your own policy that you set internally, telling receiving servers around the world to reject your legitimate email. I think that is the biggest business risk in doing this yourself. Have we seen successful implementations? Yes. Guys like Discovery, where they've got a fully fledged team of, I don't know, 20 or 30 developers focusing full time on doing this themselves. They've done it well, but they've built their own system to use internally. That's what we're saying. Utilizing a system like Sendmarc, having the smarts behind Turrito and Sendmarc collectively, you're in good shape to get this done right. And there's a guarantee, right? So if we can't get this done, happy to release you from the contract and refund you absolutely everything.
Great, thanks, Stephen. I think we've got a last question,
Yep.
very good one as well from Jason. In order for DMARC to work, does my domain and all my client domains have to be DMARC as well?
Fantastic question. We get this pretty much every session that we have. The short answer is no. And I'll tell you why. The way that the solution works, it's based off of the receiving or the recipient side being alive and awake, listening for DMARC instruction. Right, so your big guys that send, receive email like your Mimecast, sorry, your Microsoft, your Googles and all those places, they're already listening for this protocol. It's up to you as the domain owner and the custodian of the domain to set the precedent and put those instructions in play. So if you, Jason, have got your DMARC set up, you're instructing your customers' receiving servers to honor what your instructions are, what your DMARC settings are. They don't necessarily have to have DMARC set up. If they did have DMARC set up, their communication back to you guys would be that much more secure. And what we've just done is created an ecosystem of DMARC conformance, and it's just made the internet a little bit safer for everybody else. From a technical perspective, we can dive more into that from Andre if you want to dive into that, or we can just keep it lighthearted for now. Happy to set up a session with your Turrito counterpart, and we can delve into that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to go technical, happy to do that too. But yeah, just let us know.
Excellent. Great. We are conscious of time. That is the full time allocated. So thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you again to Stephen and the Sendmarc team for assisting us and giving us all of the insights. And again, if you guys have any other additional questions, session doesn't end now, please reach out to us, get a hold of us. We're happy to set up other individual sessions or put you in touch with the right people to get those questions answered as well. Much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the lunch and the session and that it was valuable for you all. And we look forward to catching up at the next one. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
All the
guys.
best.
Thank you
Take
for your
care.
time.
Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you
Bye.
for
Thank
your
you.
time. Bye-bye. Cheers.